Hey everybody, this is Paul, and today I'm going to show off my Agave desmetiana, now Variegata. Now I call it the variegated smooth agave. It's native to Mexico, and it gets 2 to 3 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet wide, and in Australia they call this Agave golden moments, apparently. So it's hardy to 20-25 degrees. It does fine in Southern California, and it has really sharp reddish brown tips and green and yellow leaves. So let's go check them out. Now it does like full sun. It gets about 75% sun here in our yard, and you can see that really sharp spine there, that thorn. Man, do not mess with this. I got jabbed by one of these. It hurt really bad. In fact, I moved this plant away from a walkway where it was, in a more common walkway, because it hurt really bad. They're very, very thick and sharp. You don't want to mess with them. So it is kind of like a dwarf agave, or century plant, some people call it. But this one, it's definitely more, it's not very cream, it's more yellow and green. Now I really like this plant. It loves well-draining soil, can take a full hot sun. You can see it got a little bit of damage from hail this winter. See it on the leaves there? But it will bounce right back. It does tend to pup. I've gotten 2 pups from this plant, and they're doing well. So I've given even one away, and it's thriving. So you can see here, it's going to be a few more years, I'd say, before it blooms. They do bloom infrequently, and it is going to be a death bloom. The stalk will get really big, and if you Google it, you can see how beautiful the blooms are of this dwarf agave, or I call it the smooth agave. This beautiful colony of Agave Angustifolia marginata, or Variegata, is 4 years old. Now I call this the narrow century plant, or the variegated Caribbean agave. Now, it's native to Costa Rica and Mexico, and it will get 3 to 4 feet tall and 3 to 4 feet wide. Now, these pups are almost as big as the mother. Let's check out the mother. So it's very drought tolerant. It's hardy to about 20 to 25 degrees, so no frost damage. Here's the mother plant. Now, what I like about it are that its leaves are very, very, I guess, stiff and narrow, and they're sort of concave there. I don't know if you could see it, but they're sort of concave down the middle. Now, I did get a little bit nailed with the spines just now, so they do have some rather intense little spines. Let's see, there you go. That will get you if you're not careful. Now, the best thing about it, in my opinion, is the beautiful color of the leaves. Now, you can see that there'll be this lovely color green. It's kind of like a pale green. And on the margins of the leaves, the outer edges, is cream. So it's a bit more creamy on the edges. Not really a pure white. And at times, you'll see a bit of pink in there with the white. So when it's growing, more in the winter, I've noticed that you'll get a bit of a shade of pink. So it's a stunning agave. It blooms very infrequently, and when it does bloom, it's going to be a flower spike, and I call it a death bloom, because after it blooms, it will die, and it will produce really big green and white flowers, and the stalks will be 8 to 10 feet tall. So a really big flower stalk will come out of it, and then it will produce lots of pups and seeds. So there you go. Definitely a beautiful agave, and it's pretty widespread throughout the whole world. They're pretty common. They've been distributed into Europe and throughout most of the world. So there you go. The variegated Caribbean agave. Give us a like and a subscribe. That is a beautiful Protea bloom, bud, about to turn into a bloom. But today, on What Plant Is That, Paul, we're going to talk about this really cool agave. Agave Bracteosa, the green spider agave. It's native to Mexico. It's hardy to about 15 degrees. It's drought tolerant and then is a typical agave. Let's see, it grows 2 to 3 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet wide, I'd say, I think. But I've had this thing about a year or so, and it will make white flowers, they say. It's definitely frost tolerant, hardy to 15 degrees, I think. So definitely wherever it's from and native to in Mexico can tolerate some nice cold weather. So this thing is doing really well. What I like about it, and what's kind of unique about it, is you could probably see the different stripes. It's kind of like has little stripes on each leaf. Really kind of see it right there. It's really beautiful, and the foliage is a little bit, I mean, I wouldn't say it's soft, but it's kind of like leather, and the sides here are kind of like really like shark's teeth, but not in an abrasive way. They'll stick to you, but they're not painful. And the tips really kind of, I guess with the cold weather, they're really kind of fold back, so they're not thorny. Definitely one of the soft types of agaves that you could have near a walkway, and it's not gonna affect somebody walking by. So definitely on the cool plant list for sure. The green spider agave, Agave Bracteosa. So give us a like and a subscribe. We'll keep more awesome videos coming your way. And oh, I could say something else about this plant. It has shot out a little baby kind of off this side, and I cut it, and it's doing well in a pot. So you could get more than one plant out of this thing. So have a great day, and bam. Hey everybody, this is Paul, and you're looking at my Agave Blue Flame. Now this is a hybrid with Agave Shawi and Agave Attenuata. They use the pollen from the attenuata, which is a foxtail agave. So I find that very interesting. It made it more frost hardy than a foxtail, and it is less spiny than the Agave Shawi. Now it will form dense masses and rosettes eventually, like 8 to 10 feet wide. But let's go get up close and check out the leaves. Yeah, so it'll kind of form a dense colony, 8 to 10 feet wide and 4 to 5 feet tall. It's going to take a long time. These things kind of grow slow. I've had this thing about 18 months. But my favorite thing about it is the stunning blue foliage. You can increase that blue color with more water and fertilizer. So it's had plenty of water this year. As you can see, it's just a beautiful blue-green, slightly kind of waxy. And the leaves are flexible, thin, and a little serrated. Now it is sharper. I mean, it is definitely sharper than an agave, foxtail agave, and it will get you at the tip. Let's see if I can get a little bit better photo or video of the serrations. So right about here, you can see they are spiny. They'll catch you. So don't put it next to a walkway, although that's what I did, which wasn't very smart. Now this tip here is really sharp, so that's the one you want to be careful of. Get ya. Okay, so other than that, this is just a stunning succulent. It likes full sun. It'll take a part sun too in Southern California, and it is drought tolerant. Now I haven't really noticed any frost damage. It's hardy to 25 degrees. It really likes well-draining soil, and it doesn't need a lot of water in our yard. However, you can see that the hail, we had some hail last month, and it kind of damaged the leaves, and that's what those kind of pock marks are. So no pests observed, and I'm sure you could grow this thing in a pot, but eventually it's going to get way too big. So again, this is a hybrid, the Agave Blue Flame. Give us a like and a subscribe, and we'll keep them coming.
Hey Paul, what's that plant?
Well, this plant here is an agave. It's one of the few agaves that don't have the big hard spines. Agave attenuata, I don't know, but just call it foxtail agave, you'll be fine. Commonly known as foxtail agave or swan tail agave, swan neck agave, also lion's tail agave. But I've always known as foxtail agave. We actually had some when I was a kid growing up, just a huge clump of these, and they would grow 6 or 8 feet up. did really well in the shade. So what we want to focus on with this plant is they do really well in Southern California. They're from Mexico, they're native to Mexico, but the funny thing is that, or ironic thing is that these are really hard to find in the wild. However, you walk around or drive around San Diego County, you see these things everywhere. So this plant does really well here. It just doesn't like the frost. You can see it's gotten burned back here. We had some 30-degree weather here a couple weeks ago. You can see it's starting to die. But I've seen these things tolerate into the teens. So I've seen them so bad that the leaves will burn all the way halfway back. It will almost look dead. And I've even seen this shaft here, this crown or this new growth entirely just freeze and die off and fall off. And so this plant actually had that happen 5 years ago, I'd say, and I thought it was gonna die. And all of a sudden it just regrew it. So I actually saw it and pulled this whole chunk off, and I thought this plant had died. And as you can see, it's resilient and came back. So foxtail agave, if you see them get ugly, it's probably due to snails, frost, or underwatering. They do like a bit of water. So I definitely would, in the hot summer months, I'd give this water once a week, twice a week, just to keep them beautiful. So if you want to propagate or get some clones of these, it's really easy. You could just cut them anywhere. You could literally cut this huge piece off anywhere here, stick it in the ground, it will grow. I've done it plenty of times. Or you can see that there's tons of little pups that just come off, and they're easy. You just take a shovel and pop them off. Make sure you get kind of a little bit down on the stem and throw it in the soil. I don't even wait, let them dry out. I just literally cut them, throw them in the soil, and they'll grow. So definitely a cool plant. We have a variegated one we'll show in an upcoming episode. It's a bit more rare. So, foxtail agave, bam. Hey everybody, check this out. I've never seen this before. Look at the foxtail agave. You can see the color differences in the leaves. And that's just beautiful. It's stunning. What I think it is it's starting its death bloom. It's gonna flower here very, very soon. But I've never seen this two-tone color thing going on. Wow. Let me take a step back so you can see how beautiful it is. That's just stunning. I've never seen anything like that. I've grown these my entire life. And my childhood home, this is actually, I took these from my dad's house about 12 years ago from my childhood home. And you can see that it took them about, I don't know, these must be at least 20 years old now before they bloom. So wow, that is just stunning. I'll take a little bit more of a step back so you can see that color variation. It's extremely unique. Now the reason why I know it's in bloom is because you can see his buddies here have lots of pups, but this is what it typically looks like. So this has been going on about 2 weeks now, so it grows pretty quick. But that is what an agave death bloom looks like when it's just starting out. It's really beautiful, but sad. But the good news is they'll tend to pup out a whole bunch before the bloom occurs. So you can see like this one, I noticed last season it just started having way more pups, which is great. It's kind of filling in the space. But all three of my most mature foxtail agaves are all starting this death bloom. So there you go. That's the cycle of life with this lovely plant. But honestly, this is probably my favorite part about them, is when they enter this phase. So there you go. Something very interesting and beautiful for you. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day. Looks like the Argentine ants and aphids are working together there. I'll have to take care of that in a minute. But today on this episode of What Plant Is That, Paul? Under this beautiful King Kong fishtail palm here, we have the Agave Realite, or I call it the variegated foxtail agave, or you could even call it Agave Attenuata. So what this is a variegated foxtail agave, and it's native to Mexico, but I believe I was reading something on online about how it was found in some man's greenhouse and that's the first variegated form that was able to be propagated, but I'm not sure. So all I know is that this is a variegated foxtail agave, and it's the spineless agave. It's extremely soft, so you don't have to worry about the spines. Hardy to, I'd say, mid to upper 20s, maybe 30s. We've had this several years, and you can see that's the only damage I've observed from frost, so it's very minor. It is a variegated succulent, so it's going to grow very slow compared to standard form, and I would definitely agree with that. This thing is taking its sweet time to grow, but it's very beautiful here. I love how it gets backlit in the morning, and it's under a canopy of palm trees and gets very little sun here. I would recommend doing that in Southern California because it just does not like a lot of sun or heat. So being inland a bit, we decided to keep it under a canopy, and it gets about this much sun all day. It's very happy. It does have a new pup, but again, these are very slow to grow and compared to the standard variety. So if you must get a very large one, I did buy us like a half gallon, but they are very pricey. Anytime I see them, they're really, really expensive. So definitely a beautiful succulent for collectors, and you can see why. Just look at that stunning foliage and variegation. So awesome. So there you go. Give us a like and a subscribe. We have plenty more videos coming your way. And again, this is the Agave Rheolite, or you could call it Agave Attenuata, or I know it as the variegated foxtail agave. All right, have a wonderful day. Thanks for checking out Agave Blue Glow. It's a Kelly Griffin hybrid. It's drought tolerant, and the parent plants are Agave Okawai and Agave Attenuata, which is across the driveway on the top left. See it there, that big cluster? So it's crazy that that is a parent of this plant. So anyways, to the star of the show here, the Blue Glow Agave gets its name because of the color. You can see it's kind of bluish green, and on the edges of this smaller agave are the blue-green leaves with a red and kind of yellow margin. See them in there? Very stunning, very cool, contrasting colors. That's what I like about this. Now, it will grow 1 to 2 feet tall, slowly, and 2 to 3 feet wide. Now, it likes full sun, and it's a really hardy agave. It's hardy to about 20 degrees or so. Online, I heard that it survives temperatures of 17 degrees. Now, it does have softish spines on the side here. They're not too bad, but it does have a really kind of red, sharp tip here at the terminal branch. So you really don't want to mess with those, so you don't want to keep it too close to maybe a walkway. And it likes well-draining soil, so give it plenty of well-draining soil and not much water. It's really a striking plant. I love the colors and the contrast. Now, I read online it may be poisonous, so be aware of that. And then it will have the agave death bloom when it reaches a time to flower. So make a very long branch and bloom and then die. So again, this is the Agave Blue Glow. Really, really beautiful, and as you can see, gets its name just from the contrasting colors, the beautiful sharp spines. What a lovely, lovely hybrid. All right, give us a like and a subscribe. Have a wonderful day.
Hey Paul, what's that plant?
Well, that plant is a century plant, variegated. Also known by as Agave Americana maritata, I think, or something like that, but variegated century plant. So it takes a few decades to actually mature. It doesn't take a century. And so once it actually matures and it shoots a big giant 20 or 30 foot stick and full of the seeds, and then this plant will die. The cool thing about it is that they run like over $100 for this size. This one's like 2 or 3 years old, but they do have a lot of suckers. So as you can see, this one plant invested, we have, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 little suckers that just are popping up from the roots all over. I've already moved some and given them away. So this plant is kind of a nice plant because it does well on a hill. You don't really have to water it in Southern California at all. It's tolerant to like 15 or 20 degrees, and you know, it has all these suckers and pups, so you could just, you know, fill up a whole hillside with one plant. They are sharp, so you do have to be careful. They do have nice big thorns. They come in all sorts of colors. There's lots of variations. I prefer this nice variegated look, but there's also greenish or grayish ones as well. You can definitely a good place if you just wanted to keep people away from an area maybe, or you can make a nice natural wall with them. Like I said, super drought tolerant. I think we have one dripper on here and you honestly don't need to water them ever. So definitely a cool, more succulent or cactus, I guess you could say. And it will grow 6 to 8 feet tall, and no, 4 to 6 feet tall and 6 to 8 feet wide. So these things get really big. You can probably see them anywhere at Balboa Park. I've seen some really nice big samples. But it's a great, beautiful little plant, really maintenance free, and like I said, the best thing about it is that it just has all these little suckers, and you know, we've gotten like 12 plants for the price of one, so it's a good deal. All right, so we actually have nearby a different century plant. I don't really know what type it is. It's got a smooth leaves with no spikes, but it bloomed, it blossomed a month ago or so. So I'd like to show you how big the bloom staff is, or stick, or whatever you call it. So let's go check it out. All right, so this is definitely a century plant as well. I don't know what type. When I moved in, we had 3 of them, and they bloomed. And actually the seeds, which I'll show you in a minute, I dispersed throughout the yard, and they grew, totally matured in like 3 or 4 years, and seeded again. So in other words, this plant right here is about 3 years old, and it comes from one of the seeds I'm about to show you. So this big bloom will bloom up, grows in, I don't know, a week or 2, maybe 3 weeks tops. And I've shaken this already and got some babies, but watch how easy it is to get some little plants, century plants from like this stock. So check it out, here we go. So as you can see, these plants are great because you can literally just put that in the soil and you'll have another century plant in a year or 2. I mean, if you give them water, this type at least will grow super fast. So as you can see, it's a really easy way to get lots of free plants, and it's as easy as that. So there is century plant. Bam! Not peace.